All right, everyone. Welcome to the Ask Dr. Kan Show, episode number 15. It's Monday, August the 8th at 12:30. Every Monday at 12:30 Arizona time, we bring you the Ask Dr. Kan Show, which was going to give you information that's going to help you get well and stay well. Okay. Now, just a little background in case you don't know me. I'm Dr. Peter Kan. My practice in Gilbert focuses on functional medicine and functional neurology to help people with chronic illness get their life back. On our website at AskDrKan.com, there are over 90 video testimonials. These are all people who's been everywhere, done everything, tried everything else, been to the Mayo Clinic, and to swing all the way up to the other side, tried the natural alternative medicine, and nothing's working until they come to us. Now, I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm just telling you that because we help a lot of people, okay? And I'm blessed to be able to help so many people using a very unique and innovative method that I developed called neurometabolic integration. This is a process where we address the neurological component of disease and the metabolic component of disease. And this method is very holistic. We treat the whole person by addressing the root cause, identifying food sensitivities, toxicities, and infections. Okay, so on our website, like I said, at AskDrKan.com, you're going to see much of these information. I invite you to go there and look. Now, every Monday on Facebook Live and on Periscope, on these two platforms, I'm just giving out content, useful stuff that's going to help you to get the process started. And also, every Tuesday in our office, we have a thyroid solutions workshop at 5:30. I highly encourage you to attend that. If you're suffering from chronic health issues such as fatigue, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, you may have depression, lethargy, digestion issues, those workshops are your best starting place to help you learn information that literally will change your life, change how you see your condition, how you're going to get out of that, okay? Now, every week we bring you a different topic, and feel free to post your questions in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer them during the time that we have. And today we're going to talk about the science of detoxification, okay? So a lot of people, when they're trying to get healthy and they're trying to do things, through a natural alternative medicine model, they always talk about doing a detox, right? You heard people say, oh, I did a colon cleanse, or I did a detox. There's much more to detox than just taking a pill, okay? So I'm going to talk about the science of detoxification so you know how the process actually works. And in my usual fashion, I'm going to be drawing some stuff out for you to help you understand the process. And please feel free to share the information with other people that you know that may be struggling with chronic health condition. Maybe you hear people say, oh, they're doing a detox, they're doing a cleanse. Okay, maybe they're not doing something that they should be doing. Maybe it's not helpful. Or maybe they need to do different ways. Okay, so I'm going to explain that a little bit today. Now, know that our environment is toxic. Okay, we live in a toxic soup. Okay, make no mistake about it. Our environment is loaded with environmental toxins, pollutions, compounds that, in other countries, like in Europe, they just straight out ban. But in this country, we allow in our food supply, we allow in foods that we feed to children and babies. I mean, it's bad, okay? So from the food, the pesticides and the herbicides in the food that we eat, processed chemicals, preservatives and colorings in the food, to things that we inhale, like air pollution, like petrochemicals, like fire retardant material in our furniture, things that off-gas in our homes. In fact, indoor air quality is even worse than outdoor air quality from all the off-gassing of all the chemicals. And then not to mention the personal care products, stuff that we use on our skin. I mean, our environment is loaded with chemicals. It's a miracle that we're even able to survive all this, because through the God-given ability of the body to heal and regulate itself, our body has an amazing ability to compensate and adapt. And part of that process is detoxification, to help us get rid of some of these toxins so we can adapt to our environment. Keep in mind that we're exposed to much more than we are, even from a few decades ago. They're finding chemicals, like over 100 different man-made chemicals in the umbilical cord blood of newborns. Okay, why is that significant? Because newborn, they're just born, right, today. So if they're newborn, they haven't had time to be exposed to all this stuff. But we're finding all these man-made chemicals in the umbilical cord blood of newborns. So where's it coming from? It's coming from the mother, right? And so we're all exposed. And then these chemicals can be passed through the placental barrier. And once it gets through, then the baby's literally born toxic. So you're wondering why kids are born with allergies, with asthma, with all these child development disorder like autism, things are just on the rise, right? And this is all because of these overload of toxins. Now know that detoxification is a process our body naturally goes through. It's our protective mechanism, help us adapt to our environment. But this detoxification depends on many different factors. There are genetic factors. There are certain genes that we possess that help us to detox better compared to some other people. So that's why you have people who, they eat, drink, and smoke, and do all kinds of stuff, and they can live till they're 90 and be just fine. And there's other people who, they eat a relatively clean diet, a relatively clean life, but they have diseases because everybody detox at different rates. Drug companies have put in billions and billions of dollars and done a lot of this research, and also through the Human Genome Project, we've known that there's genetic issues relating to detoxification. Some people are poor detoxifiers, meaning you just don't detox very well, right? Some people can handle a lot of alcohol, and some people can't handle much at all. Some people are sensitive to every chemical in the environment, and some people, they can live in a toxic dump and they don't feel any symptoms. So everybody's different. So there's some genetic component to it. However, you can't really change your genes, right? I mean, we're born into what we're born into. So let's not talk about things that we can't change, but let's focus on the things that we can change. So what are some of the things that's important in helping us to detox? Well, know that detoxification, and really any other process in the body where if you make hormones, you make neurotransmitters, you make new skin, new protein, you detox, all of this are all nutrient driven. Meaning you need raw material in the form of food for you to make stuff or get rid of stuff or metabolize stuff in the body. That's really important because most people don't think about that. You just say, oh, well, I'm just going to detox at the rate that I'm going to detox. No, it's nutrient driven. So if if your diet consists of like McDonald's Big Macs all day, every day, and not much else, you're not going to be able to have the raw ingredient that's going to be necessary to help you to detox or make new proteins or to help you make hormones. I mean, you're just not going to do very well, right? So it's a nutrient-driven process. So the food that you eat definitely matters. I mean, you don't just detox out of thin air. It requires certain vitamin, mineral, cofactors, amino acid for you to do that. So first of all, for you to detox properly, you have to eat well, okay? Really, the key to detoxification, even before you started eating well, is don't get exposed in the first place. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, I'm going to just detox and take pills and do all these cleanses and do all the shakes. You know what? The number one thing to reduce toxicity is to not be exposed in the first place. Because like I said, we live in a toxic soup. Right? All of us are exposed. So the best way to go about it is actually to reduce exposure by being more of a educated consumer, learning what's in your food, what's in our environment, what's in the product that you use, and find other products that are less toxic, more friendly to your body. Okay, that's the first step. The analogy that I use is kind of like we're so toxic that the amount of toxin and what we're trying to do with detox is kind of like you're standing in the middle of a hurricane with like rain and wind blowing sideways, and you're standing out there in the rain trying to block the rain with like little umbrella that's like on top of a margarita. Like what's that going to do to block all this sleet and rain that's coming by in a grade 5 hurricane or whatever hurricane and with a little tiny umbrella? That's not going to block very well. You're still going to get completely soaked, right? I mean, it might do something, but it's not going to do enough. Same thing with detoxification. We can take all the pills and potions and lotions. At the end of the day, reducing exposure is the first key. Okay. Now, speaking of exposure, what's the one place where we get exposed to a lot? Well, there's three main ways we get exposed to. One is by ingestion, like eat stuff. So this motion that we do several times a day, right? We put food in our mouth several times a day. That's a route of introduction for different toxins. So if you can make a different decision about the things that you put into your mouth, then you can literally change the exposure that you have to different toxins, right? By going organic, you're going to cut out a lot of pesticides and herbicide. By washing the vegetables really well, if you're not going organic, use the veggie wash and so forth. By making better choices, you're already going to cut out and reduce exposure to these toxins. Therefore, reducing the need for you to take something for detox and take away the burden on your own body's detoxification to detox, right? Another major source of exposure to toxins is actually inhalation, right? Air pollution, by breathing it in. Keep in mind that the amount of air that we breathe in is many times more volume the amount of food that we eat. Okay, so by volume, the amount of food that we eat compared to how much air we breathe a lot more air than the amount of food that we eat. So that's actually a greater area of exposure than people think, and that's why it's important to tend to, the air pollution stuff. And that, again, indoor air pollution is probably worse than outside pollution. So using a good HEPA filter, and make sure you're paying attention to even the furniture you're using, the cleaning products that you're using. That can also cut down exposure as well. Okay, and the third way to exposure is actually through the skin, stuff that you put on your body, soap and lotions and sunblocks. Find a better product, and that's going to really help you. Okay, so now we talked about what's the best way to detox. Well, not be exposed at all. So now that we got that out of the way, okay, so what can we do to bolster detox? Well, first of all, it's important to understand detoxification. So there's actually 3 different phases of detox. So let's write this up. So there's a phase 1 detox. Phase 1, okay? Phase 1 detox is where your body uses these enzyme systems called cytochrome P450 enzymes, okay? Cytochrome P450 enzyme. These enzyme systems in your body, primarily happens in the liver, actually takes fat-soluble compounds, because most of these toxins are kind of fat-soluble, and what it does is actually try to turn it into a water-soluble compound. Really, all detoxification is boiled down to that, is taking a fat-soluble substance and turn it into a water-soluble substance. Why? Because when it becomes water-soluble, then you can eliminate it through the kidney, right, through urine. You can eliminate it through your sweat. So you want to turn things into a water-soluble form so you can get rid of it. And the cytochrome P450 enzymes start that process. Now the process of taking a toxin and converting it, that first phase, some toxins are just straight up neutralized. But there are other toxins that when it's being detoxed by the cytochrome P450 enzyme, turns into an intermediate toxin or metabolite. And this intermediate metabolite is actually more toxic than the initial toxin. So when toxin comes in, the cytochrome P450 enzyme system act on it and actually converts it into a form that's more toxic. Why? Because this intermediate metabolite makes it easier for your body to add another group to it. So that process is what the phase 2 does. Phase 2 is called conjugation. Conjugations meaning we're adding a chemical group. We're adding a chemical group to this intermediate metabolite to actually turn it into a non-toxic substance. But in between, the betweeners here, this compound becomes more toxic. So what happens is some people have a very good working phase 1, but a very slow phase 2. Again, there's genetic differences between all of this. So if you have a very fast phase 1 detox system, but a very sluggish phase 2 detox system, you're going to be able to take the toxin and really build it into this stage right here, which is very toxic, but you're not going to be able to do this very fast because this is very slow for you. So these people, we call it pathological detoxifiers, where they just don't do very well with a lot of toxin because they're taking it in, but they can't convert it. Okay, so certain drugs they may not do very well, certain medication they'll react to, have allergies or sensitivity to them, or these people may be more sensitive to certain type of environmental compounds. Okay, so in these people then what we want to do, we want to improve phase 2 detox. We want to make the phase 2 work better. Okay, so what are some of the things that are involved in phase 2? Well, phase 2 involves several steps. There's several different steps of phase 2 conjugation. So this includes glutathione conjugation. So you can conjugate, meaning adding a glutathione to this intermediate metabolite and make it become water soluble. So glutathione is really important. Now glutathione happens to be a very important compound that your body naturally produces. It's actually an antioxidant that every single cell in your body makes. And it's actually the master antioxidant in the body, meaning it takes a bullet for your cells, right? So when there's inflammation or toxins come in, instead of your cells being damaged, glutathione acts like a bulletproof vest that protects the cell and takes a bullet for you. And once glutathione takes a bullet, the glutathione breaks apart, and your body has the ability to recycle glutathione and use it again. So glutathione not only helps you detox, but also is a very important antioxidant. In fact, in people with thyroid problem, which most people with thyroid disease actually have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease of the thyroid, glutathione is a compound that really helps regulate or modulate the T regulatory cells, which is crucial for autoimmune regulation to help you to manage your autoimmune better. Okay, so glutathione is one of those compounds that we use a lot in our practice to help patients with autoimmune and help people with detoxification as well. Glutathione actually can bind to mercury very well. It's a very gentle type of detox. Okay, the next thing is your body also detox through acetylation. Acetylation is a process where your body uses acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA is a compound that's used in the Krebs cycle for energy production, but also your body uses that to help with detox. The next thing is your body also uses methylation. Methylation is a process that requires methyl groups or methyl donors. And methyl donors are things like B12, folate, trimethylglycine, which is your stomach acid. It requires B6 as a cofactor. Methylation is a very basic chemical process that's involved in over 100 different chemical processes in the body. And one of those processes is actually detoxification by methylation. So you need to have enough of these methyl groups. Well, how do you get these methyl groups? Again, I mentioned B12, folate in the methylated form preferred. And the absorption of B12 and folate happen to be requiring a proper amount of stomach acid. So a lot of times people are taking B12 folate, but they still have a B12 folate need. It may not be because you're not taking enough, it may be because you can't absorb them. So people with leaky gut or low enzyme or HCl status, that may compromise your ability to absorb B12 folate to carry out this methylation detox. The next thing is sulfation. So sulfation is a process where your body uses sulfur compounds, and sulfur compounds can also help bind or conjugate these toxins. Now, where do you get sulfur compounds? Well, there are food that are sulfur rich. So things like garlic, things your cruciferous family of vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. These tend to be high in sulfur, which will help you with detoxification. So did I mention earlier that food is what your body needs as a raw ingredient to do any kind of chemical process in the body. So like I said, food. You can get food to make these things. Okay, so you need to have proper nutrition. You can also supplement with additional glutathione. You can supplement with additional methyl donors. You can supplement with compound that contains high sulfur like N-acetylcysteine. So we can use supplements, but again, food is the primary form. Supplement is not to replace food, it's to supplement, it's to add to it, okay? And then we also have a last one here, glucuronidation. Glucuronidation is a process where your body binds to, especially useful in binding with certain type of hormones. It's a process that actually happens a lot in the liver and gallbladder. And the glucuronidation is a process that's really important in people with hormonal issues, because this process actually binds the toxic form of estrogen to eliminate it. And if you can't do that very well, these estrogen that's not detoxed properly can actually circulate back to your body and create problems for you. For example, more cancer risk. Okay? So these are phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 is taking a toxin and changing it into an intermediate form so that phase 2 can bind to it and then you can eliminate it. This intermediate form sometimes is more toxic than the initial toxin. So if you have very good working phase 1 but poor working phase 2, toxin can back up and create more problems for you. Sometimes people just don't do either phase very well, okay? So then we need to improve both. There's also a phase 3. Phase 3 is the actual elimination, right, through the feces. Really, even the kidney as well. So then that's where we want the bowel to work, right? Want your intestine, you have to have good proper bowel movement. Want your liver gallbladder pathway to be open. So to put into an analogy, phase 1 is like taking a garbage can. Say you have garbage in your kitchen, in your house, right? So what you're doing is you're picking up all the garbage and you're putting it in a plastic bag. That's phase 1, okay? But then the garbage is still in your house, right? You can't have a bunch of garbage bags in your house with garbage in it. Your house is still going to stink, even though it's in bags. So you got to take the garbage outside to the curb. Phase 2 is taking that garbage bag outside to the curb, okay? And then phase 3 is where the trash trucks come and pick up the trash from your curb and take it away to the landfill. So phase 1 is where you package up the toxin. Phase 2 is where you take the toxin out, ready to be picked up by the trash truck. Phase 3 is actually when you actually eliminate it. So good, proper detoxification involves those 3 phases. Okay, now, some of the popular things that are done out there, people say, oh, I do a colon cleanse. And really, when you look at the ingredient list, on the supplement that you buy from like some health food store, basically it's just a bunch of laxative. And then you take it and you have a bunch of like loose stool diarrhea, you have bowel movement more frequently, and say, oh, I had a good detox. Just because they induce diarrhea doesn't mean it's a good detox. Remember, detox is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So if you took a bunch of laxative, you did this, but you didn't necessarily do that. Okay, so just don't be mistaken by, oh, I took a colon cleanse. That doesn't mean much, okay? And a lot of people say, oh, I go do colonics, colonic irrigation. Colonic irrigation is really to stick a pipe up your rear end, and they basically just try to flush the stuff out. Again, that may be helpful for some things, but all it does is just kind of like plumbing, right? It's just cleaning up the colon with actual flushing, and you just kind of mechanically try to flush out some stuff. May be helpful for impacted feces, but again, it does not do this or this. We're working at the back end here. Back end, no pun intended, okay? Now, some people, they take, some shake, which is fine. That's great. But remember, there's genetic differences. So some people, you take some shake that has a lot of certain compound that'll help you bind to something, or you take something that's like a metal chelator. Chelation is a process where you take a chemical compound that binds to certain metals. Chelation can be dangerous for some people, especially people with autoimmune disease. So for example, you can chelate with oral chelating compounds, or you can do it through IV chelation. And the problem is that when you have autoimmune disease like thyroid disease, your immune system is really reactive. That's why it's autoimmune. It's attacking your own body when it's not supposed to. And when you use a chelator, what happens is you're binding to these metals, and binding to the metal does not mean eliminating the metals, right? Just because you're binding them doesn't mean you're eliminating them. So what happens a lot is you're moving the pile around, right? Because mobilization of toxin by binding them does not equal elimination of that toxin. You don't necessarily take it out to the curb and have it picked up by the trash truck. So some people, when they do chelation, it actually creates more symptom, more flare-up, and they actually feel a lot worse. In fact, for some people, they could be just messed up for the rest of their life from doing chelation therapy. So you got to be very careful. I'm not saying chelation is never useful. What I'm saying is, especially if you have thyroid problem or autoimmune disease, chelation can be too aggressive for you. You want to take, really use a lot of caution before you. And the truth is, there's a lot of things you can do before you even get to the chelation that'll help you, where you don't have to mess with something that could potentially have side effects. Okay, that's my opinion. That's the opinion of many other doctors who's done this a lot, who's experts in this field. And so just because somebody say, oh, chelation is good, is sexy, it doesn't make it good, especially if you have thyroid or autoimmune disease. Okay, so again, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Now, one of the good ways that we do that is through our neurometabolic gut repair program. Okay, now the gut repair program is not specifically working on phase 1 and phase 2, but really work on the phase 3. Because if you can increase the elimination of things, that'll certainly help. And remember, a lot of these detox also happens in the gut as well. Meaning, if your gut has leaky gut, you're toxic, you have a lot of gut bacteria, gut dysbiosis, you're going to form bacteria endotoxins called lipopolysaccharide. And that's also something that's really toxic. So by cleaning out the gut, you're kind of indirectly helping with that. So I would recommend people with a need for detoxification to start with that first. Start with the gut repair program. So I had a question come in, how do you detox naturally? As I mentioned earlier, it's all about food. It's all about nutrition, right? Eating a well-balanced diet, high in green leafy veggies, high in the cruciferous family. That's how you do it, and cut down on the exposure of toxins. Of course, classically you have herbs and compounds like milk thistle that help facilitate liver detoxification, but really a lot of it is just nutrient driven. Okay, now what happens if you go out and buy individual supplement to do this and this and this, you're going to be taking like 50 pills, right? Nobody wants to do that. So what we do is we use functional detox powders. So we have a couple of products. One is called Neurometabolic Detox. It's a functional food powder that contains all the different ingredients for phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 detox. So in one powder, you have all of that. You can make it into a smoothie. That makes it really simple to do. So you can find these products at neurometabolicsupplements.com. Again, neurometabolicsupplements.com. It's our online store that has supplements that are my own personal brand, the brand that I use with outpatient in our clinic to help people get life-changing results. So I encourage you to go to that website and take a look and see some of the stuff that we use in our practice. So, a gut repair program, like I said earlier, sometimes if you just fix the gut, you automatically help with the liver already. Okay, so we don't have to make it complicated. Sometimes you want to do things that are called have an hormetic effect. A hormetic effect means you do one thing, it's going to have a benefit on multiple systems in the body. I'm going to say healing the gut will have multiple benefits in the body. Another thing that we use to detox is actually we do what's called bioresonance testing. And this is a test that's done energetically with testing vials. We have used either in person or use a urine sample. We test for different infections and toxins. And the remedy is given through custom-made homeopathic remedies. And these can help us detox very specifically, meaning like if I find mercury in the bone marrow versus mercury in the kidney, well, the remedy is made specifically for mercury in the bone marrow, which is different than mercury in the kidney. So it gets really specific and really detailed. Okay, so we use homeopathics to help with support detox. So there's a lot of things that we do in our office that's really unique and innovative. I invite you to come to our next thyroid solution workshop Tuesday at 5:30. And this is going to help answer a lot of your questions for you. We also have an autoimmune workshop this Wednesday at 5 o'clock. To register, call 480-988-6269. And you can register because seating is limited. We can only fit so many people, and the seating always fills up. So please call ahead and reserve your seats. I have a question come in that says, how long does detox take? Detox takes as long as it's going to take for you. Okay, everybody's different. There's not like, oh, do it for a week. Oh, do it for. That's something that's man-made. That somebody said, well, my program is 2 weeks because that's how much I plan to sell this product in a 2-week package. It's a man-made thing. How long does a detox take? Depends on how toxic you are. Okay, it depends on how many different toxins you have. In reality, how long does a detox take? Rest of your life. It's something you have to do on a continuous basis. Doesn't mean like every day you have to take something. That's not what it means. It means every day you have to be cognizant of the environmental toxins around you and reduce exposure to them. And when you do a detox, you have to keep the long term in mind. You're detoxing stuff that's been there for maybe decades. Depends on how long it's been there. And sometimes when the toxin's stuck in your bone marrow and your organs, when it's not in circulation, it's very difficult for them to come out. And that's why we use certain homeopathic remedies in combination with different supplements to help drive that out. Okay? So hopefully this helps you. And again, for more information, go to our website at AskDrKan.com. Go to our online store at NeuroMetabolicSupplements.com. And also attend our Thyroid Solution Workshop Tuesday at 5:30 or our Autoimmune Workshop Wednesday at 5 o'clock by calling 480-988-6269. Thank you for watching, and we'll be here next week, Monday again, for another episode of Ask Dr. Kan Show. Thank you.